It's your girl Abby, and I'm back with another video. And today, what I'll be talking about is how I broke up with my ex-boyfriend in high school, what happened, and why I broke up with him. So I'm gonna tell you the beginning, the middle, the end. I'm gonna tell you everything, the events that led to that. So I'm gonna tell y'all what happened. So I was in high school. I was a
14
sophomore.
or 15.
And I think I was like 14, 15, because that's basically what sophomores age are, like if you're a sophomore. So it was this one day, right? I was in band. Mind you, when you're in band, there is a lot of heat. It doesn't matter if you have long sleeve, a bandana, like you're going to burn, like, and you're gonna need a lot of water because you might get dehydrated. Like that's how bad band was, but there was a bright side to it, which was the games and the traveling, like, so it was there were some pros and cons. So I'm in band or whatever, and we're running through our skills. I'm talking to my friends. We huddle up in a circle, it's the morning, we're warming up and we're running the show. So this guy, I'm not gonna say my ex's name because yeah, I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna do that to him. But anyway, so this guy keeps looking at me. So I'm running my skills, I'm minding my business. I'm thinking about the next class. I think I had a test that day, that's why. So I was thinking about the test, and then I was thinking about, like the music and stuff. So he just keeps looking at me. So I'm like, okay, that's kind of weird. Like sometimes when people look at you, you don't really think nothing of it, especially if you're just like minding your own business. So he keeps looking at me. So I'm like, okay, I make eye contact, but I think when I do, he like turns around. So I'm like, okay, I think nothing of it. So we keep going, we run through the show, we run through that morning. We go to class that day. The next morning, I think it was, yeah, the next morning it was Friday. It was game day. And game day, like you have to be focused, and you just have to make sure you do a good job, because if you don't do a good job, you know what I mean? Like it can really like screw you up, and like everyone's watching, like it's Friday night lights, you know what I mean? Like everyone's there, the football team's there, the cheerleaders, everyone. So it's Friday, right? So then we're getting ready the whole that day, it passes or whatever after school. So then we're getting stuff to eat, getting ready, preparation. And then that night, like when everything passed, we performed, we had a good time, and the directors were like, doing our music, or like directing us to what we were supposed to do. So that night he texted me. He texts me. So I'm just sitting there and I'm like, okay. He probably, like, my mind was like, okay, he's texting me, but he's probably just wanting to know like the music, or like something about band. Like I didn't think it was something like personal or whatever. So he texts me. He's like, I like you. And I'm like, what? Like he's like, I like you. He's like, I like you, and I've been wanting to ask you out. When I tell you my mind was blown, it was blown. I was like, what? Like, you like me and you've been wanting to ask me out? Like that didn't even cross my mind. Like I wasn't even thinking of that. So when he told me, it was kind of a shock. I was like, okay, like, are you sure? Like I didn't know what to think. Like I'm having thoughts in my mind, and I'm like, okay. So then, like, I was still shocked. So I texted him back. I'm like, you are ? He's like, yeah. He's like, but your friends told me that you're with someone, or I don't know what he said. And I was like, what? Like at the time I was confused, because I was like, okay. And then I told him, I was like, I'm not with anyone. And he's like, oh, okay. I was like, well, I really like you, blah blah blah. So I was like, oh, okay. So then the next day, like, it was just awkward between us, like, because like he just told me that, and like a lot of things are running through my mind. So he told me that, yada yada yada. So we get into the circle again, and he's like there, and I'm like, oh my god, like we haven't like talked to each other like face to face, only like texting. So we're there, whatever, and then like again it's awkward, and then he's like, hey, and I'm like, hey, like, and I really wanted to talk about, like, what
And
he
plus everyone
just
was
said,
there.
but I was like, this is not like the time and place because we have to, you know, run the show, whatever. So we run the show, and then I think that week it was kind of like awkward. And then Friday comes again, but this time we have like an away game. So then I go into like the choir room, right? Because we had like a choir room next to like the main band hall, whatever. So I go into the choir room, and then like he's like, I have something to say, right? And I'm like, okay. Like I just sit down. He's like, sit down, right? Because he's a singer. Like he's in choir and he sings really good. He's like, sit down. Okay, I sat down, and then he was like singing to me, right? And I was like, okay, like I didn't expect this at all. Mind you, I didn't know what he was gonna like do when he told me like come into the, you know, the, what's it called? I lost train of thought. Oh, come into the choir room. So I'm sitting there, and he's like, what's it called? He's like singing or whatever, and I'm like, okay. Like a lot of things are going through my mind, and then afterwards, after he's done like singing, cause he sings really good. He's like, okay, I'm gonna ask you to be like my girlfriend, right? So I was like, okay. Like I was like really happy only cause it was like, okay, well that was a sweet way, you know. Like we haven't even talked about basically like we've been like awkward towards each other. So it's like, okay, like, you know, like for me I thought it was sweet. I was like, okay. So we got together, whatever. Everything was fine, like you know. So everything was fine, and we're like whatever, boyfriend and girl. But then like towards like I think it was like a month or 2 months, like things just started to get very, very awkward. Like I was just like, there was times when I was just like, are we together? Are we not? Like we weren't even like seeing each other like, you know, like normal, like, you know,
It
at
just
first
got
it was like
weird.
he would walk me to my class, he would hold my hand, like everything was normal. But then when the 2 months passed or whatever, um, he started getting weird, and I was just like, okay, like, am I doing something wrong? Like, we weren't seeing each other as much. Um, he was like the teacher's son, and like I think his mom didn't even know, and I had her for class, so it was kind of awkward too. But yeah, like we weren't communicating like how we should, you know, as like a couple. So we weren't communicating, and everything just seemed off or whatever. So I was like, okay. So I was just like, I told my friends about it. I'm like, do you think like I should just end it? Cause this is just getting weird. And I think like
At this point,
before
I
that,
wasn't feeling it
like
anymore.
he ran into me like a couple of times, and I was like I hugged him, and like my best friend was like next to me, and she's like, yeah, dude. She's like, y'all relationship's kind of getting weird. And I was like, yeah, cause he would just hug me or like see me for like a couple of minutes, and then he would just like leave. Like he would do other stuff with his friends, and I'm like, what the heck? Like I'm right here. It was just so funny because like at this particular part we're like drifting apart, like further away. So I was like, okay, yeah, this is getting weird. So we dated for like 2 months, right? It passed, and then we're on to the third month. And this particular day, it was game day. Of course, everything has to happen during game day, and it was a away game. So I was like, you know what? And that day after school, he was like with his friend that was a girl, right? So we were eating whatever, and I was like with my friends. And mind you, he's a freshman and I'm a sophomore, which I know I'm dumb for dating, you know, a freshman when they're trying. Okay, whatever. So we're eating whatever, and I'm like, okay, and he's like sitting over there, literally like across from me, and I'm like, this dude hasn't even said anything to me. Like, are you gonna talk to me? Are you gonna come? And then my friends are like, you should go. I'm like, nah, he should come to me. Like, why do I have to go over there? So then, like, they're like, you know what? They're like, I guess you're right. And I was like, yeah, like, why is he sitting over there when he knows he's supposed to be sitting with me? Or, like, at least trying to, like, communicate, because we had no communication. So I was like, you know what? Like, I felt very sad because I was like, oh my God, like, this is not how I wanted it to be, especially like, towards us. Like, I really cared for him, and I'm pretty sure he cared for me, but I feel like we were just drifting apart. So then I was like, you know what? I need to end this. Like in my mind, I was like, I can't go through high school knowing that he broke up with me. I told my friends I need to break up with him because it just seems like he doesn't care, and I'm not about to like be in this relationship when like you don't care. Like I'm not about to do that. So then I was like, you know what? I'm gonna break up with him. So then my friends are like, no, no, like, don't do that. He's gonna be so sad. He's gonna be. I was like, yeah, he's not gonna be sad. Like, nah, he doesn't even care. It was kind of sad, but I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna do this for me. So I go to the first band hall, and I'm like, I told him, because he didn't want to talk to me. I told my friends, I'm like, can you please like tell him to come over here so I can have like a conversation with him, you know, because I need to break up with him. Like, I need to. Like, there's no ifs, ors, or buts. Like, I just have to. And my friends are like, okay, let me go call him. So he didn't want to come, but he ended up coming, I guess, because they were bothering so much. He's like, what? I was like, I'm breaking up with you. Like, I just said it straightforward. He's like, okay. Like, if nothing. And I was like, that's all? Like, hold on, yo. Okay, yeah, I'm back. Sorry. I had to lock the door. But anyway, because I thought I heard something. But anyway, so, so I told him, I was like, I'm breaking up with you. And he didn't care. And he was just like, okay. When I tell you, like, my heart was hurting, I was like, so you don't care? Like, in my mind, I was like, wow. He's like, okay. And he just went back to, like, talking with his friends that were, like, there or whatever. And then my friends are like, they're waiting for me, like, towards the door. And they're like, dang. They're like, he didn't even care. And I was like, yeah, I know he didn't even care. Like, it was just like, dang. And then, so that happened or whatever. So I'm having a bad day. I'm going through it. I'm listening to sad songs, some breakup songs, you know. And then, my friends were like, are you okay? Are you okay? I'm like, yeah, I'm okay. But, like, deep down, I know I wasn't okay. So they're like, are you okay? Are you okay? And I was like, yeah, like, I was just kind of, like, shrugging it. And then that day I had, like, a horrible, like, that just ruined my whole day. So we had to travel, and it was, like, an hour or 2 hours away. So I was going through it. I brought my instrument or whatever, and I brought my hat, right? Because we had to bring everything, you know, like our uniforms and all that. Like, you can't forget anything. So I was having a bad day, and I was like, you know, I was texting my friend on the bus because that's how sad I was. Like, I couldn't even speak to her, like, even though she was, like, kind of, like, next to me. So I was texting her. I was like, yeah, dude, like, I'm so heartbroken. Like, like, my heart hurts. Like, it was just so, like, you know, like, that teenage love. Like, when you get your heart broken, it's, like, it hurts. So I was like, yeah, like, you know, I'm over here, like, texting. And then she's like, dude, it's gonna be okay. Like, you're gonna be fine. And then I look to my left, and I'm like, we're about to get down to, like, to go to the bleachers, right? And, like, warm up. And I'm looking towards, like, over here, and I'm like, dang, like, I forgot my hat. Like, my hat wasn't even there. And then I told, like, the section, I think it was the section leader. I don't know who I told. He's like, you didn't bring your hat? And I was like, no. I'm like, I'm sorry, sir. I'm having a bad day. He's like, it's okay. I'm gonna see if, like, someone else can, like, lend you it. Someone that's not gonna perform. It's like, okay, thank you. And then my friend's like, dang. My friends are like, they're like, you must be really, really hurt. I was like, yeah, I'm really going through it. And then, so then I got my hat from, like, someone else that wasn't performing that day. And yeah, like, that was the day I broke up with my ex-boyfriend in high school. And I was in band. I played saxophone, which saxophone was, like, kind of like a large group in my high school. So, like, we all knew each other, and we all would, like, hang out. But yeah, that's my story, y'all. Like, comment below, or, like, you guys can, like, just tell me, like, have you guys ever gone through, like, a breakup like that, where, like, everything's going good, but then towards, like, the end, or towards, like, when you think you're gonna get past another month, it just starts getting weird, and, like, you guys start separating. But yeah, that was, like, that's my story, y'all. So yeah, it was sad, but, you know, it happens. Especially when you're a teenager, it happens. So, you know, don't be sad. Some people are only in your life for a season, not for your life forever. So, you know, some teach you lessons, and it is what it is, you know, but you learn from it, and you become a better person because of it. So yeah, y'all, that's my story, and I'll see y'all in the next video. Peace.